Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades, and how are you? And we are back to Married at First Sight series 8, and we are on episode 7. Before we get into episode 7, as I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I am back on and doing videos. And we'll get into this episode right now. So this episode is, they're all moving in to their self-contained flats, and it's going to be the first dinner party. And we shall see how things go on from there, because let me tell you, it was an eye-opener, an absolute eye-opener how some people behaved. Whew. First of all, I'm going to say is I don't know why Paul decided to jump on the bed, because the bed was flimsy as hell. You could tell that just by looking at it. Man broke the bed. Anyway, there's even more awkwardness with Roz and Thomas. And I just thought I would from the time of the honeymoon, when you knew there was no gelling, there was no, I just said, you know what, shall we just call it a day, because we know this ain't gonna go no further. But we know people on this show are kind of a glutton for punishment. They ain't gonna go down at the first hurdle. No, they're not. No, they're gonna keep going, are they not? Yes, they are. Then we get on to George and Peggy, and it shows them actually getting on quite well. And I think it's because all of this time he's probably implicating her and saying that she's right all the time, or probably not shared so much of himself that he has shared. Then maybe there wouldn't then be a disconnect with them two. So yeah, they're getting on. Nothing more to say about them two. Then we go to Ella and Nathaniel. And it completely went sideways for them. Completely went sideways for them from the honeymoon at the end of the day. And she keeps going to him and sitting down and apologising. Now, my thing is when Ella apologises to Nathaniel, I'm thinking, is he really listening to her and taking it on board? Because he looks like he really don't give a shit about what it is that she has to say. And then basically he turned around and he said he wants a fresh start. I was quite shocked that they'd actually taken their rings off, because I think it was Ella or Nathaniel that basically said, well, maybe if we're having a fresh start, we should put these back on. So I was like, hold on a minute. It got to the point where you took your rings off. Then doesn't that say that, you know what, you're no longer married in that sense? Like, they literally took their rings off. And I thought, okay, so you hit your first stumbling blocks, but you two got comfy in taking your rings off at that point in time. But as again, we'll see how things play out between these two, because jury's still out for me on them two as well. At first I thought, oh my God, yes. They're like, yes, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be good between these two. But as time gone on, especially when it came to that honeymoon, there was a total disconnect on Nathaniel's side, and Ella was trying to get that connection back in that respect, but couldn't get it back. It looks like they might try now that they're in the flats, but I think it's only a hair's breadth away before them two explode all over again. So then we go to Portia and Terence, and things are not much better with them. I'm really at a loss of how they got put together, to be fair. Like, really at a loss at how they got put together. They were still going at each other, and Terence was like, can we just leave it for today? And that set Portia off, basically. And I'm kind of like, well, in that type of environment, used to are not going to be able to come together to find no common ground, because at the end of the day, used to a set where you're not going to listen to each other, and you're both stuck in your ways as to how things had carried on and went on at the end of the day. So Portia standing there and digging at Terence, where Terence has basically put that freaking barrier in place where you're Scotch Miss to him at this moment in time, ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work, because you need two people in order to make a conversation to happen. And I suppose in this type of situation, Terence was trying to diffuse the angst and the constant barrage of everything that was going on at that point in time, because it would have just turned into a slanging match between the both of them at the end of the day. And I don't think that's what either one of them really wanted, but neither one of them were at a point where they were going to listen effectively to each other. So basically, I just thought at that point they were both doing my head in. To be fair, they were both doing my head in. And as I said, neither one of them will take responsibility for the issues that they caused. And those issues had spilled over from the honeymoon, from the dinner, that they didn't then sort out before they got to the flats with each other. So next bit comes up and we get to the first dinner party. And we'll see what dramas await for us there. So you see Peggy and George come in. You see Ella and Nathaniel come in together, and even though they're on the offs, they still came in together as a united front in that sense. So basically Nathaniel was telling the lads some of the stuff that had occurred at the honeymoon, and basically saying it was off between them two. And Ella was talking to the girls as well, saying that it was off between them two, that she didn't get a kiss, she didn't get this, she didn't get... And I thought, did you have to be so descriptive, Ella? Like, seriously, we didn't need to know that you didn't get the F and Jade. Do you know what I mean? That you didn't get the F and Jade up your hoo-hoo. We didn't need to know that. But you insisted on letting the nation know that he didn't tickle your fancy and he didn't give you the lip lock of the century at the end of the day. But hey ho, that's neither here nor there. So you see Arthur and Laura coming together, and then you see Luke and Jay coming together, and they're still happily married. They're my favourite couple because I love Jay. I love Jay. I do love Jay. And then you see Portia entered by herself. And I first thought, if Portia entered by herself without even going to Terence to say, look, are we going to be a united front? Are we going to go in together as a united couple to not show these people that there's a problem between us and we will work our shit out as and when we need to? That was my first thought. That, hold on, you couldn't even go get your man to say, we need to put on a united front. But I know something happens, especially when they have the first couples counselling or whatever it is they want to call that I then realised that it wasn't down to Portia. Anyway, so everyone's asking where Terence is, and Portia says she don't know, to be fair. So I was like, okay. She explains the situation with this spoon and the fact that he called her, and I'm thinking, you're taking it a bit too far, to be fair. Like, seriously, you're telling a little story, but we'll see how this pans out for you through this meal. We'll see how it pans out for you. So then you see Shona and Brad come in, and basically Shona's glowing and telling all the girls that she's so loved. And I'm just like, my girl, you need to relax. Now, throughout this dinner, I'm going to say it from now, throughout this dinner, these two could not stop sucking face. And I'm like, and this is why I say these two are going to annoy me. These two are going to annoy me so bad, because I'm like, why at the dinner table as well? Why do you have, and the fact that she went so far as to pick the boogers out of this man's nose. She went so far as to pick the boogie out of this man's nose. I'm just like, really, like, it was getting hella uncomfortable by that point, that these two could not put each other down. Yes, we see that yous are connected. We see this. We see that yous really like each other and you have that physical connection with each other. But every 5 motherfucking minutes, you have to be on each other's face like leeches trying to suck the blood out of your nether regions. I mean, come on. Let each other go at that point. Have your separate entities, you know, you're with the lads, you're with the girls. Have that. And then come together afterwards. But does it have to be every 5 minutes you literally limping all over each other? And that's why I said these two are going to annoy me. They're going to annoy me. So then in walks Terence, and everybody was watching, like everybody was watching on tenterhooks. Now, Peep Game, yeah, Portia didn't get up to greet him. Portia didn't get up to greet him and say hello or nothing like that. Everybody else came to him and said hello. So it was Nathaniel that actually asked him what I go on first. But he did his explanation, and I understand Portia didn't get up and say hello, but he could have said hello or made that gateway with Portia. But things were off with them two lot off. It was like, basically, it was like Terence really didn't care. Like, he didn't care, and you could see the evils that Portia was giving to him. So my thing is how are you going to approach someone to say hello when they're giving you the evils? So okay, he decided to go over and introduce himself to the girls that was sat next to her. I thought, okay, that's all right. He's gonna go down the line, introduce himself, and then say hello, wifey, and give her a kiss, say hello, you know. No, he didn't. He literally said hello to every girl, bypassed Portia and said hello to the other girls. And I was like, you know what, Terence, I was with you up until that point. Because now you're as bad as she is. I was so with you up until the point you did the whole blanking series. I thought, are we back in fucking second year school where you literally blank your best friend when you are on the outs with each other? Because that's what you would normally do. And as again, I was with him. I was with Terence up until that point. I was just like, yeah, nah, that behaviour was total and utter bullshit, because there was no need for that. And I think it was that set the precedent for what happened next when it came to him and Portia. So then Roz and Thomas entered last. And even though they're on the outs and they're so cold with each other, at least they entered together. They entered together as husband and wife at the end of the day. You see Tasha and Paul enter, and they're so happy. Like, they're happy. And I think the fact that where Roz and Thomas sees the happiness in, like, you see it with Shona and Brad, you see it with Paul and Tasha, you see it with Luke and Jay, where they see that camaraderie is something I think Roz wants for herself, but isn't able to get there with Thomas, because I told you from the get-go, this girl did not find this man attractive in the slightest. She did not find this man attractive in the slightest. Now, me, myself, I don't think there's anything wrong with Thomas. He's just a different type of person. You have to deal with him differently in that sense. You have to understand his needs in order to meet those needs that he's obviously has. But he has a certain way in portraying what he needs and wants from a partner. So me, myself, I don't understand how they got put together. But yeah, it's definitely not working with them two. So then tensions start to rise, because you hear Laura and Arthur and Roz and Thomas are all having a conversation and talking about friend zones, and like Thomas didn't really like the terminology of friend zone with Roz, because that's not what he's trying to get to at the end of the day. So basically Laura was advising and saying it's a marathon, not a sprint. But basically Roz and Thomas are not even on the road to becoming past the friends. Basically, they're not even on that road yet. They're not on the road to becoming something other than friends. And then Laura had to throw out the bit is, at least you don't hate to be around each other. And Portia heard that, because Laura was sat right next to Portia. Portia heard that statement, and I was like, my girl, couldn't you just keep that to yourself? Like, couldn't you keep your convo in between you four as your couples and keep that shit? You didn't have to throw that dart out, because that's what catapulted the rest of the evening, as I always see it. So it got to the point where there was so much tension, because Portia and Terence, all the couples are sat next to each other, and Terence is sat next to Portia. I mean, like, Terence ain't really speaking to her. He's checking for her. You can see the looks that he gives her, so he is concerned about her. But then Portia then gets up and leaves the table. Basically, she walks away, and this is going to be his time at this point to say, right, I need to go out and sort this situation out with Portia if I really want to have a marriage with this girl. That's how I'm seeing it. If he really wants to have a marriage with this girl and fix this relationship that he's got going with this girl, he's going to be the one to have to be the big boy, go out and speak to Portia at that point in time. So again, as I already said, I'm not going to keep going over it. Brad and fucking Shona are going to get on my tits. I know it is. There's a time and a place. Terrence, you can see he can't stop looking at Portia. He then gets up, walks over to her, because I think what they do is Portia, the first instance, has moved seats and sat further down. So he gets up and asks her, can we go and talk? Can we go and have this conversation? She blanks him. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? Now it's getting kind of pathetic. Now you're being really pathetic, because at the end of the day, he didn't have to get up and come and say, can we go talk? But he did, because he wanted to try and rectify things with you. But you decided, Portia decided, that she was not going to take that opportunity in which to talk to this man that she said she wants to trust the process and work it out with. He's come to you to talk to you. So get up off your high horse and go talk to the man. And this time with both of them, without all the shouting, without the angst, without this, without that. Literally sit and listen to what each other one is saying and talk to each other at the end of the day. But basically now, at this point, Ella decides that she's going to get up and speak to the rest of the table in regards to something important that she has to say, because she is informing the rest of the group that she is a trans woman. So she says this heartfelt message at the same time. And it's so nice to see Nathaniel literally giving her his presence and touching her, holding her, letting her know, you know what, I've got you, you've got this, go on. And she literally basically said what she needed to say, and everyone was accepting of that. Like, really, everyone was accepting of that. And that's all she wanted at the end of the day, was everyone to accept her for who she was and the journey that she was taking. And clearly you could see, even though they had a great start, then an awful patch at the honeymoon, and probably further awful patches, Nathaniel still had her back. Like, Nathaniel still had her back in that essence. So basically, after some time, Portia runs out. Portia runs out of the dinner. I think it's Roz that follows her, and she's telling Roz basically, what have I done to deserve like his ire, how he's treating me, this, that and the other. And I'm like, hold on. Are we flipping the script here, my gal? Are we flipping the script here, my gal? Are you taking no responsibility for the shit that you caused with him, for the shit that you said to him, and how you went about things and saying shit to him? Have you forgotten all about that? And then it was like a whole different narrative came about, because Terrence came out to try and speak to her, and he wasn't great in trying to speak to her. He kind of feigned indifference. And I'm kind of like thinking, what is it that she wants? Like, what is it that she really, really wants? So she gets up, tells him to leave her alone, walks back into the dinner, and then literally tells everybody this story that he's said X, Y, and Z to her. And it was lies. It was absolute lies. And I thought, do you not think that they can, like, rewind this shit back and play it again? Because you're literally lying to the group. You're literally telling the group that he threw a spoon at you, which was completely false and untrue. He did not. He offered you the spoon, you refused to take it. And that's the reason why he called you childish. And you've just come out and said to him, turned around and said that he's turned around and said to you all kinds of manner of things just outside. I'm thinking, the man didn't even get 2 words out before you literally jumped down his throat and said you don't want to speak to him and walked the fuck off back to the room. And then when he walks back in the room, what have you come back in here for? Why are you here? Why are you... And I'm like, oh my God. Like, oh my God, like, seriously, my girl? Seriously? Is this what you're gonna do? And even I'm gonna applaud Luke for standing up and basically saying to her that Terence has tried with you this evening, but what more do you expect him to do? And that's my thing. What more do you expect him to do? Because you're making this man out to be some type of villain. Well, in actuality, you're both of the motherfucking villains in this story. You both were to blame and equally responsible for the situation that occurred and how it blew up from the dinner tonight. You both were to blame in that. But now you're just embellishing for embellishing's sake. I was like, raw tits. Like, really? She went up and she lied. She lied. Full of lied to the people then. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it here, my renegades and everybody else. But I shall be back with the next episode. As I always say, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so when you know I am back on and doing videos. And I'll speak to you all again soon. Peace out.